p.m. July 4th, 2022. Okay. This is Norm Radke and Hans Lagerloef, 88 and 89 years of age, respectively, partners in November 1812 Zulu, a 1980 Beechcraft Skipper hangared on the Ontonagon Municipal Airport, KOGM, in the northwest portion of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan on the southern shore of Lake Superior. Briefly, how long have you two been partners in 1812 Zulu, Norm?
Approximately 9 to 10 years since we went in a partnership. I had bought the plane originally in Yukon, Oklahoma, and brought it up here and had it for a couple of years, but then Hans decided that he needed another airplane, so we became partners.
Yeah. And Hans, about how many hours a year do you fly the airplane between the two of you?
Well, it of course varies with each year, but we average about 50 hours, around 25 each. It varies. Some years it's more, some a little less, but yeah.
Norm, you're an A&P mechanic. Do you do most of the maintenance?
Well, I do the maintenance and the work. We had changed our engine here 2 years ago, put a brand new engine in, and yeah, I'm an A&P, also a technical counselor with the EAA, and as such, I can do annuals on home-built airplanes.
And is Hans your right-hand man?
Hans is right here all the time. He beats me here when we need to do something, and he supports me 100%.
My job is really to hand him the screwdriver.
Briefly, Norm, what did you do for a living, and how is aviation in your background? Where did it start?
Well, it started right here in Ontonagon. The barnstormers, they were flying a tri-motored Stenson, and I had a ride in that when I was in my mother's grip, 8 or 9 years old, I suppose. But it was had a ride in that airplane, and that airplane still exists. It had been crashed up in Alaska, and Bill Brennan from Neenah at the Bill Brennan Airport went up and retrieved it along with some other people, and that's quite a story. But anyway, they gave rides at EAA each year with it, along with the tri-motor Stenson, but they say it got too valuable to be shuttling people around in it, so it's retired from that duty, but it still exists up there.
And out of college, you went into aviation as a career?
Yeah, out of college, I went to the Northrop Institute of Technology in Inglewood, California, and then I worked for Douglas Aircraft Company at the time, and so I worked on several of their airplanes, the OC-133 Globemaster, and also started on the DC-10 when they were first developing it.
And then moved on at some point?
Moved on to, yeah, I spent about 10 years there. Then I moved on to, went to work for Mercury Marine, who makes outboard motors, in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, and spent 27 years there. Started out in engine development and ended up as manager of the fuel systems there. So anything that touched fuel.
And stayed involved with aviation the entire
and
time?
All the time I was stayed involved. I built it very easy. When Bert Rutan showed his planes at Oshkosh, I ended up going out there and getting a ride with Bert Rutan, and that really got me going. And so I ordered a kit the same day, and took me about 8 years to build it, but I still have it. I fly it. Then my son and I built a YX, a Sonex airplane called the YX with a V-tail. I had to copy Hans's Bonanza with a V-tail. And I'm right now building a Zenith 750 Cruiser. It's about half finished.
Very good. 89 and working on your third
Still
airplane.
going.
Hans, you have a significant background in aviation, starting back with your father.
Well, what happened is I actually lost my real parents, and my uncle and aunt adopted us. And we lived on a farm, and we had a landing strip there, and my uncle always was involved in aviation from college on, except World War II, of course. And so when I went to live with him, being around a gentleman that loved it so, it came natural. And so he got me a job at the local airport in Aurora, and in trade for polishing and moving airplanes and gassing, I got my lessons. And when I graduated from high school, I had 100 hours and a private license. After high school, I was accepted to the Institute of Aviation at Illinois, but I wasn't the world's best student and I had limited funds. So I went in the Air Force. Fortunately, had a cadet program then. So it was just like being in the Air Force Academy, except we studied flying rather than academics. Upon graduation, you were a second lieutenant and you had your wings. And I went on for 12 years of active duty. And then I realized that the Air Force wasn't going to allow me to fly as long as I wanted. So I applied and was accepted at American Airlines and spent 29 years with them. But I stayed in a guard unit, and after 22 years, I retired as a lieutenant colonel. And it was a great experience working with the guard. With American, I flew just about everything they had except the 747. I flew his DC-10, and that was the biggest. Ended up on the 76, 757, magnificent airplanes. As a gift to myself, I bought a beautiful Bonanza, which I had 19 years of joy of flying. Then I realized the time to step back. So that's when I became a partner with Norm on 1812Z, and a great decision because it's allowed me to stay active in the flying business.
Well, as possibly the two oldest co-owner and active pilots in the United States, if not the world, what would you two like to say to those thinking about flying as a living or just looking to answer that desire to soar?
Well, I was interested in flying, like I said, when I was 8 or 9 years old, and I always had a desire to fly. It didn't seem to be a thing that I was able to do. I don't know why, but never got around to it for one reason or another. And I wish I had a counselor to advise me on how to go about getting into aviation, because I certainly would have gone that route, and maybe I could have been a co-pilot for Hans.
Or vice versa.
So, but anyway, I ended up, after I got out of the Army, that's when I decided to go into the mechanics training course and got a BS degree in aircraft maintenance, and went on from there.
Hans, how about you? What would you say to a young person looking at aviation as a career right now?
Well, obviously, I was quite enthused about mine, and I feel today they have the best opportunity that I can remember in my mind of being able to go in, advance quickly, and have a wonderful career. And the flying is still just as great. Different rules, different positives and different negatives, but still overall the best job in the world. It's really nice to smile going to work.
Yeah. Well, thank you, gentlemen. We look forward to seeing you fly in the skies around Ontonagon for years to come.
Well, we look forward to it as well.
Yeah, we do.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's so valuable, they quit giving rides at EAA and now only fly the Ford trimotors. But the airplane still exists, and it's up at Bill Brennan's Airport in Neenah, Wisconsin.
And the bug bit you then?
And the bug bit me then, and I still remember that flight. It was at the old airport, on Old Airport Road.
Uh-huh.
And my mother took me because I was too little to be getting on an airplane. But it was a great flight, and ever since then, I've been smitten with the bug.
And Hans, what would you say to somebody looking at aviation as a career right now, or just as something that they've always wanted to do?
Well, obviously now the career path in flying is as good as it's ever been, and the future looks as rosy as it possibly can be for anyone that has a desire to go into the aviation. The path is smooth if you put the effort in. It's a great career.
And it answers a passion too, right?
It'll help a lot.
It's wonderful doing something that you like.
Absolutely.
County Energy Commission used to have an office in Marquette. Anyway, they give us all the maps where to look and we found two places that we were getting readings from the air. We had a scintillator mounted in the belly of the J3 Cub. And we had to go get approval from the FAA. They were located in Wausau. And I still got the paperwork. That were legally to fly below, anywhere we wanted below 500 feet except over towns.
Sure.
But we had to wear a football helmet. That was right on the
Oh my.
So we flew and of course I learned to fly, and that's when I first soloed.
Yeah, yeah.
The old airplane.
Fire truck. She got quite a kick out
Tell
of
her
it.
to come out right now. It's out
Well,
sitting
she was out here this morning.
Okay.
With her kids.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Out.
Yeah.